The word fat often triggers a powerful negative emotional response. We're talking about the type of fat that is genuinely detrimental to health. The most dangerous variety is known as visceral fat. Interestingly, when you expose yourself to lower temperatures, you activate your brown adipose tissue. This brown fat acts like a furnace, clicking on and igniting. Beneficial fat combats harmful fat. You will fundamentally transform your ratio of lean muscle to adipose tissue. Consequently, you'll find yourself achieving a superior physical composition. In many ways, it's comparable to the contemporary cigarette. It's not a rare occurrence. Every single piece of research conducted demonstrates that high consumption is linked to profoundly adverse health consequences. How can I, for instance, adopt a healthier diet? What actions should I take? I consistently advise individuals saying, first and foremost, don't hesitate to take a stroll in brisk weather. I'm not referring to a treacherous snowstorm. Be sensible and prioritize safety. However, if it's chilly outside in the autumn or even during winter, wear proper footwear and go for a walk because cool air accomplishes something remarkable in reducing harmful body fat. The shock of cold air detected by the thermal receptors, the thermostats, if you will, within our bodies will instantly activate something known as brown fat. Brown fat is a unique category of adipose tissue. It is fundamentally different from white fat. So envision two distinct colors of fat. Imagine you're at a hardware store, you have a painting project in your home, and you plan to use two colors, one for each wall. You select one can of brown paint and one of white. This is essentially how nature engineered body fat. The harmful fat that is visible and often accumulates around our midsection, the kind that is inflammatory, is white fat. The most hazardous type is called visceral fat. It can accumulate even in a slender physique. It's possible to have a significant amount of visceral fat. Viscera refers to the internal organs. This is a form of fat that essentially envelops your organs like a baseball glove. It is highly inflammatory. It can leak fatty acids. It is, frankly, a rather dangerous type of fat. The substance that causes your abdomen to protrude spills over the sides and creates what's often called a muffin top. So it turns out that when you experience cold temperatures, you switch on your brown fat. Your brown fat operates like a gas stove because it undergoes a process called thermogenesis. It produces heat. When confronted with cold, your body seeks warmth. It desires a heater. Think of it as a personal space heater. Consider the gas range in your kitchen. You turn the knob, click, 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 whoosh, a flame appears. In your kitchen, that flame is fueled by gas lines connected to your municipal supply or perhaps a propane tank beside your house, depleting that energy source. In your body, the brown fat is that space heater. Click, 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 whoosh. With cold exposure, it actually draws its fuel from the white fat stores. Good fat battles bad fat. And brown fat, incidentally, isn't soft and wobbly. It is remarkably thin and is situated around our neck, a bit under our breastbone, slightly between our shoulder blades, and scattered in small amounts in our abdominal area. My essential point is this: take a walk after your evening meal. You'll be engaging in physical activity, you'll be working your muscles, and if it's cool out, don't shy away from the fresh air because you will actually speed up the burning of surplus calories. All these actions will help you tip the scales toward more muscle and less fat, and you can intensify this effect. You can be as committed as you wish, but if you persist with these practices, burning extra harmful body fat and building more muscle, you will reshape your own lean muscle to fat ratio. Therefore, you'll ultimately find yourself in a state of improved body composition. The truth is that body fat, which most people link to weight gain and aim to lose for weight reduction, is actually an incredibly useful and important substance. I believe it's vital to first inform people that managing your weight isn't about eliminating all your fat. You need to distinguish between these concepts. Body fat is truly essential. The cells that constitute body fat, I refer to them as adipocytes. Adipose is the term for adipose tissue, which is the medical word for fat. Adipocytes, the cells that make up fatty tissue, perform an astonishing and healthy role in the body. Many are unaware of this, but our fat cells, our adipocytes, are the fuel tanks for the energy we require simply to get through our day. Forget running a marathon. I'm talking about commuting to work, doing laundry, or preparing a meal. You need energy for any of those activities. You need energy to take a shower. So, what I want people who are deeply interested in the concepts of fat and weight loss to understand is don't demonize your fat. You need that fat. It's something you must have in the appropriate quantity. Excessive fat is a genuine problem and can lead to a situation requiring weight loss and management. A connection exists between the brain and body fat linked through our nervous system. Here's something truly fascinating, and this does relate somewhat to foods that combat body fat. It turns out that when we eat, the taste of food on our taste buds naturally sends signals to our brain, correct? Everyone can recall a memory of a favorite aroma from their mother's kitchen during childhood, right? That's comfort food. It's a scent that transports us back to something familiar and soothing. So you already understand there's a link between food and our brain, but those signals must travel through our nose and taste buds. This tells us there's wiring connecting our mouth to our brain. That's the initial step in signaling a mouth brain connection. But were you aware that nerves originating in our brain travel down both sides of our neck and actually extend to our body fat? When we stimulate our mouth with various foods, they essentially send text messages to our brain. Our brain then releases other signals and hormones that communicate with our body fat, for better or worse. This also alters the neurotransmitters within our brain, creating a direct impact on brain activity. Furthermore, those nerves continue past our body fat down to our lower gut, where our gut microbiome resides. And of course, with ongoing fantastic scientific research, we're increasingly understanding the critical importance of a healthy gut microbiome. So, we're discussing the gut brain connection. This connection runs from the terminus of our gut all the way up, but it begins in our mouth, goes to our brain, and can influence our brain's functioning. I want to share one more perspective from my work as a researcher on how this might even affect our brain size. We once believed the human body was incapable of regeneration, right? In childhood, I'm sure we all learned this. Starfish can regenerate, salamanders can regenerate, but humans cannot. That's the lesson we were taught. That is no longer accurate. That textbook chapter has been torn out and discarded. We now know humans do, in fact, regenerate. We've begun to understand that our stem cells, all 70 million of them in our bodies, work silently behind the scenes to regenerate our health. And we may not even realize our liver needs minor repairs. Perhaps you had a weekend where you indulged a bit too much. Silently, your body dispatches stem cells to fix the damage. Excessive alcohol consumption can shrink your brain. You need to regenerate that. So we now know even the brain possesses regenerative capacity. This is a dynamic process occurring daily, unseen. Therefore, one hypothesis for why excess body fat might affect brain size could be an impairment of our stem cells' ability to support the rejuvenation, renewal, and structural revitalization, the regeneration of our brain tissue itself. This isn't yet proven fact, but it's a scientific hypothesis. Our brain must be maintained in its size. If you don't continually replenish it with healthy cells, it will naturally begin to atrophy. Certain foods you consume can replicate the effect of cold air. They can activate your brown fat. They flip the switch to turn on your internal space heater so that it goes click, 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 whoosh, forcing it to draw fuel from your harmful body fat stores. Protein, for instance, will help you feel satiated a bit quicker. Fiber will also promote a sense of fullness sooner, which counteracts your perhaps instinctive urge to keep eating. Another factor many overlook, and we'll discuss specifics in these categories, is water and liquids. When you drink water, place a full glass on the table before your plate, look at it, and take a few sips before beginning your meal. First, hydration is crucial for overall health and is underappreciated. Second, simply drinking some water fills your stomach, which is essentially a sac. Sipping water stretches this sac. When your stomach stretches, it sends a signal to your brain indicating there's some content inside, prompting initial signals of satiety. When you've consumed enough food, your brain will signal that you've had sufficient and it's time to stop. So, liquids like water, hydration with non-alcoholic beverages are key. Coffee or tea is acceptable, but avoid dairy, sugar, or artificial sweeteners, as these can disrupt your metabolism. Plain tea, black coffee, or coffee with plant-based milk are practical ways to help you feel slightly fuller when you sit down to eat. Beans are, as my friend Dan Bietner, well known for highlighting blue zones where people live exceptionally long and healthy lives, often says his favorite food. Beans are a common dietary staple in every long living culture worldwide. Beans are incredibly healthy, a great source of protein that promotes fullness. Their fiber content also induces satiety, and this effect isn't limited to the meal you're currently eating. Consuming beans at lunch can help manage your fullness and give you a head start on satiety for dinner. So you're essentially eating for the next meal, which is another useful strategy. Those are just a few approaches to consider regarding foods that can be helpful for satiety. Now, chocolate is a confection, a candy. I want to be very clear about this distinction. Dark chocolate is preferable because it contains more cacao. Cacao is a plant based food originating from a pod on a tree, and it's rich in dietary fiber, beneficial for our gut microbiome and overall health. It also contains polyphenols called proanthocyanidins. Don't worry about pronouncing or spelling these terms. Let those of us who study food as medicine handle that. Just know that dark chocolate, being more plant based with higher cacao content, possesses these bioactive compounds. What do proanthocyanidins do? These polyphenols in dark chocolate can summon our stem cells. A study from San Francisco and the University of Texas showed that in 60-year-old men with coronary heart disease, compromised blood vessels and hearts, drinking 2 cups of dark hot cocoa exceptionally rich in these polyphenols could double the number of stem cells in their bloodstream capable of repairing circulation and improving heart function after just 30 days. Drinking 2 cups daily for a month, the experiment's design, and then measuring stem cell count via blood test resulted in a doubling. They also measured circulatory resilience using a test called FMD, flow mediated dilation, which also doubled. That demonstrates the potential power of your stem cells. There's a whole other list of beneficial foods. Dried fruits, for example, because the skin of fruits contains ursolic acid. Dried fruits provide more skin per portion you consume. This is why opting for organic fruits is better if you're consuming the skin, as skins tend to accumulate pesticides that are difficult to wash off. You can imagine that overeating, putting more fuel into your tank than needed, will simply expand your fat mass. This is how overconsumption leads to weight gain, and you can see the results in the mirror. The key is to avoid overconsumption. There's a Japanese saying, hara hachi bu, which means to stop eating when you are 80% full. I translate that as savor your food, eat mindfully and thoughtfully, and stop when you are satisfied, not when you are feeling stuffed. We are trained from childhood, and especially in busy work environments, to eat quickly. When you eat rapidly, you can easily overconsume, tricking your brain because you're loading food faster than your body can process the satiety signals. But if you eat slowly and savor your food, you often realize you're quite satisfied and don't need more. Putting less fuel into your body leads to less weight gain. This must be balanced by moving more. By staying physically active, you burn that fuel. It's akin to monitoring how much gasoline you put in your car while ensuring you actually drive it. If you only refuel without driving, you'd just be filling up extra gas cans and storing them in your trunk and garage, leading to accumulation. This is what happens for many people over a lifetime, not just over a few months. I'll share some simple reasons people overeat and straightforward countermeasures. First, eating alone makes overeating easiest. Why? Because we often distract ourselves when eating solo. You might pick up your phone, scroll through social media, check emails, or watch news. The moment you have that device in hand while eating, you're not paying attention to your body or your plate. You're just shoveling food in. My advice: eat with company, as is common in cultures with healthier eating habits. Eat together and don't be distracted. Put your phone away, not just for politeness, but to avoid distraction. Then you can savor your food. I categorically refuse to eat anything I don't truly desire. I'd rather not eat than consume something unappealing. I believe that's okay. You won't waste away if you skip a non desired food. But if you commit to eating only what you genuinely want, you grant yourself the ability to truly savor your meal. So, is sugar bad? No. Your brain typically requires sugar. Your body will produce sugar if you don't get enough from your diet. Fruits and vegetables, even non sweet ones, contain sugars. A summer peach has significant sugar, watermelon has a lot, And even broccoli contains natural sugars. These are all excellent for you, not because of the sugar, but because the calories you're obtaining are high value calories. They come packaged with polyphenols, dietary fiber, and all the bioactive compounds from the plant that counterbalance any potential downside of the sugar content. I always say regarding produce, if you're eating normal, healthy amounts as part of a balanced diet that pleases your palate, don't fret about the natural sugars in them. If you have normal blood sugar control, it's generally fine. For individuals with diabetes or prediabetes, greater caution may be needed, and consulting a nutritionist or dietitian is wise. But for most people, it's perfectly acceptable. Now, what about added sugar? Just like fat, too much of a good thing becomes problematic. Added sugar, which we often find in sodas, a typical can contains about 9 teaspoons of refined sugar, is detrimental to health. If I handed you an empty cup and asked you to drink 9 teaspoons of granulated sugar dissolved in water, you'd be appalled. Added sugar in such quantities is harmful. However, natural sugars in the quantities typically consumed from whole fruits and vegetables are just fine. I believe sugar has been vilified, much like fat once was. This is where the conversation needs to evolve. We should avoid black and white thinking. Will sugar cause cancer? The reality is that many other environmental factors pose greater cancer risks. Let's not demonize our food. Let's respect what nature provides and simply make better choices. So, for fruits and vegetables, the sugar is fine. You asked about dried fruit. It's true you could quickly eat 6 dried apricots, but might hesitate to eat 6 whole fresh ones. Therefore, you might consume more concentrated sugar. This is why moderation is key. Eating 6 dried apricots in one sitting is probably excessive, but having 2 or 3 as part of a fiber rich, polyphenol boosting snacking pattern is likely fine and far superior to a bag of potato chips. Again, let's strive for more refined, thoughtful choices. We make these nuanced decisions all the time. If you go skiing, everyone wears similar outfits and uses similar skis, but you choose which trail to take down the mountain: a green circle, a blue square, or a black diamond. Everyone can learn to make better choices when confronting food. Foods we often consider unhealthy can lure us into the trap of black and white thinking, labeling foods as either supremely good or terribly bad. This isn't accurate. I believe everything in moderation is a sound philosophy, which brings me to the concept of guardrails. If you generally commit to staying in the center of the lane, avoiding extremes, that is the safest path for long term overall health. What's important is to know yourself and understand what foods you genuinely enjoy. Many people haven't spent enough time contemplating what they truly like to eat. Some might joke, I love French fries, I love hamburgers. Okay, maybe you do, but let's think deeper. Among all available foods, which ones resonate? I give people a mental checklist. What did your mother cook when you were growing up? What aroma from your childhood kitchen brings you a sense of comfort and home? What is true comfort food to you? Initially, they might mention meatloaf, but with gentle probing, they often recall other healthier options they also love. That's the unfair advantage I have. I know which foods are healthy, which is why I included over 200 of them in my books. Let me do the heavy lifting on identifying beneficial foods. Knowing what you enjoy that is also healthy grants you permission to engage with those foods. That alignment is a bullseye. You can sustain that pattern because you like the foods. Everyone knows smoking is incompatible with health. Similarly, drinking large amounts of soda is not beneficial. It's somewhat like the modern day cigarette. Every study shows high soda consumption is linked to very negative health outcomes. But on a hot day, on vacation, if you're truly craving a soda, have one. Just don't make it a habit. Allow yourself that occasional treat. If you spend most of your time focused on consuming things you already enjoy that are good for you, you'll be resilient enough for an occasional dietary detour. How do I eat healthier? What should I do? I always tell people first, life is for living. You should enjoy your life. We only get one, and its length is unpredictable. So, first, honestly discover what you truly, genuinely enjoy. Sometimes you need someone to help draw this out, which is what I try with my patients. You'll often find that some of the things they like are actually quite healthy. Give yourself positive reinforcement for those choices. If you can create a checklist of foods you love that are also good for you, you're already way ahead in the game. Hey, if you enjoyed that video, then you're going to love this next one. Go ahead and check it out.